We're back. We took a long summer break. I don't even know. It's fall now. It's crazy.
It's almost winter.
We took a fall break too. It's Thanksgiving. But look, I feel like nothing is slowed down, guys. Like it's going nuttier than it was before. Now it's not just a lawsuit against NAR. It's like now we're bickering amongst ourselves and it's getting worse. Like, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Compass? Do you want to start with Anywhere? Do you want to start with Rocket, Mr. Cooper, Redfin? You want to start with the Zillow lawsuit? What? Where?
Oh, you just wore me out already. So
we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
John, we're done.
I'll try to put this into context, right? Because text without context is pretext. And so you got to have a context for all of this.
That's really good, John.
So you kind of touched on it, Tristan. And the fact is that it is getting more involved, but that creates an opportunity for people who sell real estate. Because if you follow us and you pay attention to the things that we're talking about, then you're going to know something that your competitors don't know. You're going to know something that maybe your buyers and sellers have kind of heard about. And you can come from a position of authority and talk about these things that are happening in the industry when other people can't, because it's just too mind-boggling for them to try to even pay attention. So, our goal here is to try to simplify many, many things that are going on. And we always like to point people to the Data Advocate because that's where we accumulate a lot of this information. So if you go to thedataadvocate.com, you'll see our latest musings on all of this. And I think a good place to start is with the Anywhere acquisition by Compass, huh? Do you guys think that's a good place to start?
I think so. Let me just put the Data Advocate link into the chat. And everyone, Jerry, thank you. You're in Alaska. Nice to have you here. Everyone else, let us know what city, what state, what country you're from, because I know we're from all over.
I know Jerry from Alaska.
John, the Jerry from Alaska, though?
Same guy.
Okay, here we go. Jerry, you're a popular guy.
So everybody's heard about it. Everybody's been talking about it. It's this acquisition, and it's Compass and Anywhere. And why that's important is Compass is a big company with a lot of market share and a lot of money, and they're kind of bucking some of the standard industry positions. And Anywhere is an owner of brands. And so now you've got a large volume company coming together with a large agent population company. Yeah. And then what might be the consequences of that to people that aren't going to fit into that? And is this even going to be allowed? And might there be some restrictions based on market? So I think it's a great subject for people to know about. Heck, might help you make a decision about where you want to hang your license. Who knows? So, John, you could take it. There's been this statement of acquisition from Robert Refkin and Compass that they're acquiring all these great real estate brands that we've all known about for the last 40 or 50 years.
Where do you guys want to start with this? Because I see it as it's definitely a challenge to the way we will do business. Just from any indication of how they've been doing business now, right? So where do we start, though? John, what do you see?
So let me just throw this in. This is not uncommon. Acquisitions, we've seen it for decades. And right now, in the last year, we've seen Rocket Mortgage purchase Redfin, and they also purchased Mr. Cooper. So we see these big players with a lot of money. They kind of got some vision of where the real estate industry is going to go, and they're acquiring the assets to move them towards their vision. So not unusual that you would see something like Compass and Anywhere. And I think it could have dramatic impact on the industry. If you think about, Compass has really been pushing back against the mandatory submission rule of MLS. So we know that what makes MLS work is the fact that if you take a listing, you got to put it in the MLS. You got to put your good listings in, your bad listings in. We all do that. That's the mandatory submission rule, which has been altered a little bit in the last 5-6 years with coming soon and clear cooperation and DMEL, delayed marketing, exempt listings. And then Compass says, they come out and say, hey, we don't want to put our listings in the MLS right away. We would like to test the market first. And so we've got a 3-tiered system, and we're not going to put them we're going to give sellers a choice. And what that really means for sellers is they do get a choice, whether or not it's informed choice or not. That's another conversation, but they get a choice. And then the listing doesn't go into the MLS right away, possibly, if sellers elect to keep them out. And what could the consequences of that be? Incomplete inventory in the MLS. It could be less exposure for sellers. It could be a place where sellers test the market for pricing. A lot of different things to consider with this. And so Compass is a big player. They're rocking the boat in the industry. And so this acquisition now, where they're bringing a lot of agents, and Robert Reffkin promised that he's going to let the brands continue, didn't he? He's not going to pull the brands away and make them all Compass agents.
No, but there was a really good, let me see if I can stop the share and find the exact statement. Robert Reffkin, right? Robert.
Yeah.
Reffkin. It was recent because he wanted to, he sees all the blowback, right? Robert Reffkin statement on Compass and Anywhere. Let me see if I can find it. If I can't, in essence, what he said is exactly what you said, which was, hey, look, if this happens, we're going to just do what we've been doing, which is the choice is up to you. But we already know what that choice looks like, right? It's the 3-phase marketing plan. It's like, John, listen, thanks for being here. This is how we roll over here at Compass/Anywhere. We've got 3 phases to our marketing plan. We would love for you to be off market because this is why. Stats, research, bias. Next is phase 2, right? That's exactly what he's talking about. It's not going to change it. He's still presenting it in the exact same way. And it is a detriment to the MLS. It destroys the way we function right now. Does it also mess with Zillow? Yes. That's what people love about it. But the fragmentation of our industry, it's like, you think we're having problems now? Wait until we get fragmented more.
Well, so here's something else. So in a hot market, that's an easier sell to a seller than in a market where it isn't as hot. And so while that you can make a case for the 3-tiered marketing system and how eventually it's going to end up in the MLS, in a slower market, sellers might not buy into that as readily as they would in a hot market. And the market's kind of slowed down.
The challenge of it is more, Jerry, I heard sellers too with limited exposure. The challenge is this, I think, is like if the merger happens, the option is now on the table on how they approach the marketing, right? Because you've seen how they're blowing up Facebook ads, Instagram ads, right? Off market. This is how many we have. Take a look. It's amazing, right? Come to us. We're dominating. Obviously, it's an edge for Compass agents. Nothing wrong with that. Like, it's a publicly traded company. It's fine. But the challenge becomes, like, if they can get in at the right time with the market favoring the 3-phase marketing plan, let's say during that time, dude, they destroy the MLS as we know it. That's the challenge.
Yeah, so that definitely is a challenge to the MLS, and we'll see where it goes because of the market. And that's where Zillow got involved. So Zillow says, and they created this way to police even the industry by saying, if you don't enter, we believe, and I'm glad they believe this, we believe the MLS is valuable and that people should be able to see everything when it comes on the market, and to hoard those listings that doesn't really benefit consumers. So we get all this traffic at Zillow. If you don't put it in the MLS, we're going to forbid that listing from being on Zillow for the life of the listing. And right, so there's litigation between Compass and Zillow now. That was the internal industry back and forth that we're seeing, some of it, where Compass is saying, hey, we don't think you have the right to do that. And Zillow's saying, yeah, we do. And Zillow's kind of standing up. It's kind of funny as the hero of the industry in some people's minds, right?
Yeah. In others, they're concerned about their privacy policy in the follow-up Boss CRM, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, I think you mentioned, Saul, the lawsuit where Compass is suing Zillow. And the interesting thing, up until this point, we've had people talking back and forth and stuff like that. But what I'm fascinated with is the fact that now the lawsuits have gotten to the point where there's going to be discovery of key things. And I think the conversation is going to get, a lot hotter. What's currently going on in that lawsuit is Compass has filed for a preliminary injunction stopping what Zillow is doing. And their argument with a preliminary injunction is if we don't stop them now and we wait until we get to trial, that could be 6 months or a year or longer. We're going to be totally irreparably damaged. And therefore, Your Honor, so they just filed a motion for preliminary injunction. And what we're waiting for is to see what the response is going to be. Until you get the response to like a complaint, you don't know what the full picture is. So that should be coming out pretty soon. And I think that one of the basic arguments that Compass is making is, hey, has Zillow really taken on the fact that they are now a regulator? I think that's an ultimate issue, that case, and we should have some decision on that when they rule on the motion for the preliminary injunction.
Yeah, so what you've got is first you've got this acquisition proposed, because if Compass has got too much market share in any particular market, they might not be allowed to go through with it in that market, right? So you got probably the DOJ and the FTC looking at this to see that it doesn't violate any antitrust rules with regard to market dominance. And then you've got the lawsuit between Zillow and Compass over Zillow's pushback, where Compass wants to keep listings off of the MLS, because imagine if you ran an ad that said, come to our website to look at listings that aren't in the MLS. You're going to get a lot of eyeballs. And maybe now I got leads.
It's an edge.
Yeah, if I got an edge, I got leads. Now I can market to agents. I got leads that you're not going to get anywhere else. Come work for us because we've got leads right? So there's a lot of opportunity for shift and change in this acquisition and then the litigation. And then at the same time, you've got, you got the FTC already suing Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com over some rental rules, right? And things that they backing out of the marketplace. You got that piece going on. And then you got Compass suing Northwest MLS over them wanting to have office exclusives. What's that, Tristan?
They're not done with that one yet. Dude, what's up with that? What's the latest on that one?
Well, I'll let John jump in with the latest, but it's not done yet, right?
No, there was a motion up there where MLS decided that they should put a stay on or delay on any type of discovery. And they basically lost that motion. And so that is in the discovery stage. And this is where you're going to be seeing documents and people being asked to have signed type of statements, I think you're going to start seeing the guts of the cases other than just the pleadings that we see to now. So the court said, no, we don't have to wait for the delay that the discovery. You could start that as well now. So that was a big setback because now MLS has to do a lot more work to combat that lawsuit. So that's where that one stands.
Got it. It's interesting because as we move forward with that one, we'll start seeing a lot more of the intent behind the 3-phase marketing plan, because everything will be put out in the open, right?
Right.
So I think for us, we're not with Compass, right? I look at it and say, well, we already know the intent. We're living it daily, right? And for you, John, being a recovering attorney, it's all based on intent. And I mean, geez, are we all blind and not to see the intent? I just want to, if I'm Compass, Refkin, and publicly traded company, I want what's best for me, Compass. That's it. Yeah. And that's what's happening. That's the intent. So I want that to be found in this going back and forth in this lawsuit. And I think it'll be clear. We'll just wait to see what happens.
Well, and the part of this too is what is the best for the consumer? Because think about what's best for me as a publicly traded company is probably what's best for the consumer. At least that's the position Zillow would take, right? Where they believe their North Star is the consumer. And so is it in the consumer's best interest to have a fragmented inventory of property for sale? And that hadn't been answered yet. And, our answer has always been, we believe it's in the best interest of buyers and sellers and listing agents and buyer brokers to have all of that inventory in one place. It makes it easier. As a matter of fact, it's what makes MLS in North America the envy of the world. The fact that you've got what's available, it's open to everybody. Now, might a handful of property owners benefit from being excluded from the MLS? And the answer has to be absolutely yes. But that's a handful more than likely.
That's true. That's true. All right. So we've got Compass and Anywhere. If it happens second half of 2026, right? We've got Zillow lawsuits. We've got a pro and a against group of people, always against Zillow or for Zillow. We've got Homes.com jumping into the mix.
Yeah, Homes.com jumped in because they said Zillow's got images that don't belong to Zillow, that Homes says that they should be taken down, or maybe they do. We're kind of confused a little bit on that because Zillow actually started taking them down based on the litigation. Right. And then we saw something come out from CRMLS, which is the biggest MLS in the country, telling all of their subscribers and participants that they needed to pull down all their images. They backtracked on that after they got notification from Homes.com. So that was a little confusing for about 12 hours, where we had to deal with that last week.
I saw the emails go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of litigation. Matter of fact, John and I talked about creating a matrix. So, right, in order of that which we believe could have the most impact on you, the agent that's listing and selling real estate today.
Do you think that? So both of you, I love that, by the way, if you do that. This is just a question that we're all thinking. I want to know where you think we go from here. Do you think it gets a little worse as far as the lawsuits coming out more now more so than ever against each other? Do you think that accelerates, or do you see a deceleration of that?
I actually think that that's growing. You're going to see more of this, and you're going to see copycat situations. So I think the industry internal litigation is not going to go away. That we'll probably see more. Now, a lot of it, in my mind, when I read some of these suits, it's like I don't think they have a prayer. But it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they can't create waves, right?
Do you think, though, first off, I agree with you. Do you think that these lawsuits are now, and it's more like a rhetorical question, guys, but do you think these lawsuits are now being used strategically as part of the business plan?
Whose business plan?
Whoever's doing the lawsuit, because you're watching, let's just throw in CoStar. It feels like it's part of their business plan. Like, hey, why don't we just go out and do a lawsuit? Slows everybody down, puts us in front of everybody. Now everybody's got our name there. And then Compass, like, they're just going to be like, let's go over there. Let's just slow them down. Oh, they don't agree with us. You know what? Let's lawsuit, right? It's almost like, if you aren't doing this, you're not playing the game that all these big companies are playing to move their agenda forward, or at least push back.
Yeah. So I think the first premise is, what's that statement? There's no such thing as bad marketing because your name is in front of people and there's a benefit to somehow, but litigation is costly.
It is, man.
Right. So I can't see it as.
Here's how I see it. So I agree, it's costly, but think about this, because I live in the social media world, right? So think of what grabs the headlines, right? And I'm going to say, instead of, because name one real estate company that dominates the marketing on social. Nobody. They all suck. Okay. Nobody does it right. Nobody is Mr. Beast. Nobody is Apple. They just aren't. They don't grab the hearts and the minds of the consumer. They don't. Now, if they figure out one way of doing it, which is, why don't we go and make a lawsuit against this, and against this? Well, shit. The New York Times picked it up. The Wall Street Journal picked it up. It's like, we're killing two birds with one stone. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, that's back to this. There's no such thing as bad marketing.
Yeah.
Right. And it does put people's name in front of people, whether or not it's worthwhile. I also think there's still a lot of uncertainty as to where the listing and selling of real estate is going to shake out over the next couple years. Particularly with the addition of artificial intelligence and what it can do. And so people are willing to step out and try new business models. And so we might see people moving against the establishment, so to speak, because they think they have a new business model that might work, and then the establishment will push back. But I got to think that companies like Compass, they have a vision in mind, and they've decided to press forward until somebody tells them they can't press forward anymore.
Yeah.
I think, and you look at the industry itself, it's an industry that's been ripe for disruption for a long time. John and I met back in 1994 online and got involved heavily in the development of technology in 95, which by today's standards, there really wasn't any technology in 95, right?
No.
Right. And so people have tried different approaches, but the fact is it's a tough industry to penetrate for a number of reasons. Number one, the method of compensation is really detrimental in that you don't get paid unless you close the deal. So it's 100% contingency compensation for the people that work their butts off to make a living doing this. And it's an independent contractor situation, so you don't get any benefits. So the way the whole thing is structured. Now, Redfin came in and tried the employee thing. I don't know how that worked out for them, but not the way they thought it would. And now they're part of a bigger monster, a bigger entity, right? And so it's like this industry is hard to wrap your arms around because of the way in which it was conducted. Business has been conducted for 100 years. And when you look at contingency sales, okay, you got all these people pushing back on commissions, right? Claiming that commissions are too high. We got to cut back commissions. but they never take into consideration the fact that it's all contingency based. Now, if an attorney takes a case, and attorneys will argue with me, but I don't care. They take a case based on contingency, they'll take 30 to 40%. And so if here's a real estate broker, a real estate agent that takes something on based on contingency, they put their time into it, they put effort. So for the buyer or seller not to have to take the risk and to place all of that risk on the professional, seems to me that the compensation is more than fair. But we've got the outside forces driving that, and AI might have a lot to do with changes. But I think it's a difficult industry to wrap your arms around.
I agree. It's going to get a little more difficult with AI involved. Because, go ahead, John.
Oh, no, you mentioned AI and a matrix. We just prepared the article in the Data Advocate, which was to show people who are looking ahead to their business plan for 2026, that having a list of cases and lawsuits would be helpful for them in developing their 26 business plan, as well as their operating office policies would have to be examined as well. So now's a good time for that. But in mentioning Matrix, it was like just the other day, Saul said, "Hey, John, we're going to be back on with Tristan. And why don't you just put together a few cases that we had?" Well, I've dealt with Saul long enough, that he knows that I work very slowly and like to take notes and everything. And he said, "We don't have time. Why don't you try GPT?" And you know what I said? I said, "I've never used it. I'm the old god. I wrote my language of real estate book 50 years ago with a yellow legal pad and a pencil, gave it to a secretary. But when I went into GPT, I was amazed. I was overwhelmed. That tool is absolutely amazing. And there's a lot of things to learn from that. And by the way, maybe in a later article, I'll talk about the concept of fair use. You're using GPT, but you're training it with other people's copyrighted material.
You are.
And so I think that's an interesting topic to pursue.
I love to pursue that. Go ahead.
Fair use. Hey, before we sign off, I think it's California, but I think it's appropriate that everybody needs to know, if you sell real estate in California, what happens in California spreads across the country and gets to the East Coast, and they figure out it's illegal, right? So stuff starts here in California. And what started is something called AB 723. And so everybody who lists and sells, who lists primarily real estate in Southern California in California needs to be aware of this, AB 723. And what that law does, and it goes into effect January 1st, it requires that if you put an enhanced image in your advertising that's on the internet or anywhere else, you must include the original. And so if you take a picture and you enhance, what does enhancing mean? And what can you do and what can't you do? And hey, if you stage that property, digitally, what does that mean? Well, if you post a digitally enhanced image, this is something MLS has got to be concerned with, which is why I've been thinking about it for a while now. How are we going to handle that? If you put an image in and it's enhanced, are we going to require that you put the original in? Because if we send that out to Zillow, they're going to have to put, at least somehow, consumers are going to have to be able to look at the pre-enhanced image when they see an enhanced image. So while it sounds like it's kooky California again, that's true. And that doesn't mean that it won't spread across the country. So AB 723, if you're selling real estate in California and you haven't heard of this, look it up and need to pay attention to it, January 1st.
It's a good rule. I actually think that one will, I was thinking about that the other day. I think that one will catch on nationally. If you guys want to look it up, I just put up the name of it so you can go and look it up on Google. Great one, Saul. I'm going to leave you with this so you can think about it, maybe because next time we're going to talk about fair use, right? So ChatGPT, maybe about a month ago or so, announced that Zillow is the first real estate app that is now built into ChatGPT. First one. And I think it's the only one right now that's built into it. That means I can fully maneuver and use the data in there. I'll show you what I'm talking about, just so you can see. If I ask ChatGPT to use the Zillow app right here, it says, hey, use the Zillow app to show me all the homes available in Malibu, right? So because it's integrated, it pops open Zillow within a window, and it gives me everything. Well, there you go. It gives me everything I need, like full access, right? It's all in one place. I can request a tour. I can do everything. More importantly, I can have ChatGPT ask specific questions about the area right here. So it's full on. Now, here's my question. Now with this, if Compass then creates its own app that fully integrates with ChatGPT, and they have off-market homes, so you can visit that website, like the website that'll create less fragmentation in the future seems to be AI-driven, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, Grok, because it's bringing everything all to one place. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Wanted to see what you guys thought. Fair use. Let's talk about that in the next session.
But now that you raise that issue, before we go, that is a major issue. There was a lot of industry chatter about it. And there's a couple of things that would determine whether or not that's even proper use of MLS data.
It's not.
Right? Well, what came back is the way that it's done, and this is something people should look into with regard to, is that under the control of the broker? Is that it looks like that model is acceptable, which means that if it is, you're right, Compass is going to have one, Anywhere is going to have one, Remax is going to have one, Keller Williams is going to have one. All these companies will start to develop this type of tool, because if it's compliant with MLS rules for the use of the data, you're right. People will start to move towards this kind of display, this type of research and display, search and display. And so it's something people need to think about, for sure.
Yeah. And then it begs the question, which is the next company that dominates the audience because it did it right on AI, right? We know who did it on Google. Who's going to do it right on ChatGPT? It's the 5th most visited website in the world now. 5th. ChatGPT. 5th. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, I don't go to Google to search anymore. I use ChatGPT to search. It doesn't I hate going through and figuring out which one's the ad and which one's not the ad.
Dude, tell me about it.
Right. I just go to ChatGPT. I prompt it what I'm looking for. It gives me the references. I mean, to me, it has replaced Google as a search tool for me.
Yeah. Yeah, Jerry, good point. Fragment the data, and the AI aggregate will be the tool of choice for consumers 100%. That's the way to look at it. John, let's talk about fair use the next round. Saul, you guys good? Let's start with that.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. It's good to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Nice to see you as well.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Aloha.
Bye. Aloha.